You ever get the feeling, when the holidays are coming up and you're already thinking about how much those credit card bills are going to hurt in January?
Yeah.
What if, instead of stressing about all that debt, we could actually make some extra income?
Right.
Enough to cover those gifts and everything. So that's kind of what we're going to be diving into today. We're exploring how to become our own Santa, financially speaking, of course. And we're lucky to have our expert here to help us break it all down.
I think it's a really cool perspective, instead of just budgeting and cutting back, to think bigger, create systems that bring in some extra cash.
Especially around the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts off by talking about this idea of cash flow.
Okay.
And he's not just talking about like your salary, but this idea of money consistently coming in from different places.
Right. He even compares it to the Force from Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's a little geeky, but I kind of love it.
I think it's actually a really smart comparison.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that, like, money's always moving around us, right? And we need to figure out how to, like, tap into that and use it to reach our goals.
So it's not about working more, it's working smarter.
Exactly.
All right.
And that leads right into his point about, like, changing how we think about money in general. He says that value comes before the money. So you get paid for the value you offer, not the other way around.
Okay, that's interesting. But how does that actually work, like in real life?
Okay, well, he uses examples that we can all relate to. Like, think about your job, right? You offer your skills, what you know, and you get paid for that.
Yeah.
Or having a roommate. You're offering them a place to live and they're paying rent. Or even just investing. You're giving money to businesses or projects, hoping they'll grow and give you back more.
Okay, so what you're saying is the big takeaway is we need to be creating value, offering something to make money.
Exactly. And I think that's a really empowering idea because it means we're actually more in control of our money than we might think. It challenges us to, like, step back and think, okay, what am I offering now? And are there other ways I could be creating value, maybe making some extra cash?
This is where things get really interesting. So King tells this story about renting out a spare room in his house. And he says he makes like $1,000 a month just from that.
Wow.
He even says it's made him more money than the stock market.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It just shows how a simple idea can really make a difference in your income.
Yeah. And then he goes on to say that his mortgage is like $1,700. So that rental income, it covers a huge chunk of his housing costs.
It makes a lot of sense. But, this might not work for everyone, right?
True.
But it definitely shows that we all probably have something we could use to make extra money, something that's just sitting there.
Right. It makes you think, what about me? What skills do I have? Maybe I could turn my baking hobby into a side business or tutor kids online in something I'm good at.
Yeah, exactly. I think the roommate example is just the beginning. It gets us thinking about all the value we have and how we can turn it into, like, real opportunities. King's basically saying we need to move past that old 9-to-5 mindset and find new ways to be financially free.
So finding those hidden ways to make money, things we maybe didn't even realize we could do.
Yes. And especially as the holidays are getting closer, right?
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about how to pay for everything, what if we actually made extra money just for Christmas?
Now that's an idea I can get behind. It's like taking control and becoming our own Santa,
That's exactly what King is talking about. And he even gives a plan for how to do it. He says, set a specific goal for how much you want to save for gifts. He uses $2,000 as an example. And then you break that down into how much you need to save every month.
I like that. Having specific numbers makes it feel way more doable, But how do we actually make that extra money to reach the goal?
That's where the really interesting stuff starts. King gives us a whole bunch of different ways to make passive income. Each one has its pluses and minuses, and he wants us to think about which ones would be best for us.
All right, let's dive into these passive income ideas. He talks about options trading, dividend investing, creating content, even owning a business, cryptocurrency, those room rentals we were just discussing, and real estate. I mean, where do you even start?
It's a lot, right? But the important thing is you don't have to do everything. It's about finding what you're good at, and how much risk you're comfortable with.
So like a financial buffet, we can pick and choose what we want.
Exactly. Let's start with options trading. You can make a lot of money, but it's pretty risky. You got to really know how the market works, how to manage risk and be okay with possibly losing some money, maybe even all of it.
Yeah, that's way over my head. What about dividend investing? That sounds a little safer.
Dividend investing is definitely less risky. Basically, you invest in companies that give a portion of their profits back to the people who own their stock. So you're making money passively just from owning a piece of the company.
So it's a slow and steady kind of thing. But I guess you need quite a bit of money up front to make that work.
Yeah, usually you need a good chunk of money to start with if you want to make decent money from dividends.
Okay. What about creating content? He talks about writing books, making videos, things like that.
Yeah, content creation is getting super popular as a way to make passive income. The cool thing is you can use what you already love and know to create something valuable that people will pay for.
Okay, so say like I'm really good at knitting. Could I like make a YouTube channel teaching people how to knit and actually earn money from that?
Definitely. If you get enough people watching your videos, you can make money through ads, sponsors, or even selling your own patterns and stuff.
That's awesome. But I imagine it takes like a ton of time and effort to get to that point, to build a big enough audience.
Yeah, it's definitely not a quick way to get rich. You have to be really dedicated, keep at it, and always be learning and getting better.
Makes sense. What about some of the other options? Owning a business. Is that a realistic way to make passive income?
Well, owning a business can be a great way to make money, but it's important to know the difference between active and passive income here. At first, you're going to be working a lot, but if you can figure out systems and stuff that let the business run on its own, eventually it can make you money without you constantly working on it.
So it's more of a long-term goal.
Exactly. It takes a lot of time and money at first, but if you're successful, it can really pay off.
Okay. I'm curious about his thoughts on cryptocurrency. Seems like everyone's talking about it these days.
Yeah, crypto is kind of a wild card. The market goes up and down like crazy, and King says it's not something to rely on if you need money fast, like for Christmas savings. You could make a lot of money, but you could also lose a lot.
So more of a gamble than a sure thing.
For sure, especially if you need the money seen. It's better for people who are okay with risk and want to invest for a long time.
Okay, let's get back to the room rental thing. He seems to really like that as a starting point.
He sees it as like the easiest and fastest way to get extra cash coming in.
But he does say it won't work for everyone, right? Not everyone has an extra room, and some people might not be comfortable with a stranger living in their house.
Absolutely. You have to think about your own situation.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a possibility, it's a really good way to start building toward other ways of making passive income.
He also mentions real estate investing. Is that something most people can do?
Real estate can be a great investment in the long run, but it usually takes a lot of money to get started. Unless you find a really good deal, you probably won't be making passive income quickly.
So it's more of a long-term thing.
Exactly. It can bring in rental income, and the value of the property might go up over time, but it's not a quick fix.
Got it. We've talked about a lot of different things here. Does King have a favorite? Like, where does he suggest we start?
He actually suggests starting with, you guessed it, renting out a room. Remember, he thinks it's the easiest and fastest way to get some cash flowing. And then, he says, use that extra money to invest in other things, like dividend stocks or creating content. It's like building a ladder. You start with the bottom rung.
That's a smart idea, using one way of making passive income to help you start another.
Exactly. And something I found really interesting is that he doesn't think working extra jobs or overtime is the best way to reach your financial goals. He thinks trading your time for money isn't a good long-term solution.
I get what he's saying. It's about setting up systems that can make you money even when you're not working, right? But I gotta be honest, I'm a little skeptical. Do you really think everyone can make like $1,000 a month extra, like King did with his room?
That's a good question. I do think everyone can find ways to make more money, but we have to be realistic. Not everyone can rent out a room or has the skills to immediately start making $1,000 a month.
So what are some of the things that hold people back?
Well, a big one is just not believing they can do it. A lot of people think they aren't skilled enough or don't have the knowledge or time to make passive income.
It's easy to get stuck in that scarcity mindset, right? Thinking there just aren't enough opportunities out there or that only certain people can be successful.
Yeah. And that's why I think what King says is so important. He wants us to believe in ourselves, to see the potential we have, and then actually do something about it.
So it's more about that abundance mindset, believing that there are opportunities if you're willing to work for them.
Exactly. And another thing that stops people is being afraid to fail. A lot of people don't like taking risks, trying new things, and maybe messing up.
Yeah, especially with money, it can be scary.
For sure. But King says that making mistakes is part of learning. He wants us to embrace the process, try things out, and learn from what doesn't work.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about seeing failure as a way to learn and get better.
Yes. And one last thing, I think a lot of people just put things off. They have good ideas, but never get started.
Ugh, tell me about it. It's so easy to get busy and forget about those big dreams.
Yeah, but King reminds us that time is really valuable. He says, do it now, start small, and keep going.
So don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect plan. Just start, even if it's a small step.
Exactly. You know, King keeps coming back to this idea. Focus on helping others, and the money will follow.
Right. It's not about chasing money. It's about finding a need, a problem you can solve, or a way to make someone's life a little better.
He even talks about his own experience, how he's able to be generous with his family during Christmas. He even paid for his parents' trip to Florida, all because of the passive income he's built up. It's proof that this approach can work.
That's really inspiring. It shows that being financially free isn't just about having a ton of money. It's about having the resources to live how you want and help the people you care about. It's like spreading good vibes through money, you know?
Absolutely. So becoming your own Santa, like King says, isn't just about giving gifts. It's about being in charge of your money so you can make choices that are generous and make a difference in people's lives.
So we've talked about a lot, you know, cash flow, changing how we think about money, all those ways to make passive income. What does it all mean for the average person listening?
For me, the biggest thing is like taking control of your money, especially for the holidays.
Instead of going overboard and ending up with all those credit card bills in January, right?
Exactly. It's about making a plan for your money so you can reach your goals, spend how you want, even afford those holiday gifts.
So you're in charge instead of just reacting to whatever happens.
Right. And something that really stuck with me is that idea about creating value.
Me too. It sounds great, but it's kind of hard, isn't it? Like, where do you even start?
It starts with a question, a really important one. What can you offer to the world that's valuable? What are you good at? What are you passionate about? What resources do you have that other people would pay for?
That's a good question. It could be something you're already doing or something you always wanted to do, maybe even a hidden talent you haven't thought about in a while.
Maybe you're a great baker or an artist or good with computers. Maybe you're organized or love teaching. It could be anything. You just got to figure out what makes you special and how you can turn that into something other people will want.
Like King with his room rental, right? You wouldn't think that could be such a good way to make money. It really shows that thinking outside the box can lead to all sorts of possibilities.
Totally. And remember, it's not all about the money. It's about doing something you enjoy and making a difference.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Christmas cash flow. As we finish up, I want to leave you with that question our expert brought up. What can you offer to the world, something so valuable that people will pay for it? Think about it. You might just find your own way to become your own Santa next Christmas. Maybe even treat yourself to a trip to Florida like King did.
You know, it takes a little inspiration and the courage to just go for it. You never know what you can accomplish.